Hey, it's Tom. Welcome after a long summer break. Today we're going to build another React Native app that will be pretty close to a Clubhouse, but it will be based on chats, just like the old school chat rooms. And that's why I called that Chat House. And by the way, in this video, we will build the app using React Native, Firebase, and Stream Chat Provider. And this video is sponsored by Stream. Stream is a provider of many features, and they have recently provided also a new SDK for React Native. They have two main features. One is chat messaging, and the second one is activity feeds. So feel free to check them. And the other good thing is that they also have a maker account, which allows you to have a free account for your even startup if you have less than 10K monthly revenue and you hire less than 5 developers. And if you didn't get more than 100K in from venture capital. And this plan I'm using for my personal usage, and I highly recommend that because it's working pretty fine. Okay, let's get back to the code. Okay, as usually we will start with the package.json, so I will quickly explain you what we are using here and why exactly we are using that. So as I mentioned, it's a React Native app, so there is a list of the React Native libraries, document picker, file providers, and so on. A lot of libraries from the React Native community. Except from that, we use Stream.io library. So there's a Stream Chat because the app will use chats, and Stream Chat React Native because luckily Stream provides a lot of ready-to-use components for React Native. So it's just easier to build an MVP. Or even a fully functional app because you can customize those features. And yeah, there is a whole page with examples for React Native and list of the available SDKs and a lot of ready-to-use components. So you can go through the tutorial and also check some sample apps like to-dos so you can understand how the components are working. Okay, so except from React Native and Stream, we are also using a Firebase to store the user data. And for this case, I have found a great set of libraries. It's called React Native Firebase, and they provide wrappers for like most of the interesting features of the Firebase. So analytics, authentication, access to Firestore, like anything you can use and you can need from the Firebase. It's really great. So that's it. It's called React Native Firebase, and there is a base library app. Then we use Auth and Firestore because we use Google sign-in to allow users to get into our app and protect us from spam. Okay, that's it in the package.json. So maybe let's start with the app. Right here we see that we use React Native Navigator. So we have navigation container and stack navigator, and there's an initial route called login because every time user opens the app, we'll go to the login screen, and login screen will verify if the user is signed in or not. And if the user will be signed in, then we will just redirect the user to the chats, and chats is our like main component because it contains list of all chat rooms and allows us to create a new chat room. And there is also one component called chat room, which is a detail screen for chats. And within this screen, you can just join the chat room and write something from your site and add, just like in the old school chats. Okay, so let's start with the login. So as you see, right here we have a login screen component. Actually, there are there are a couple of variables that we store here. The first one is initializing, because when we open the component, the first thing we want to show is the text initializing, because we want to verify if the user is signed in or not. We have to wait for Firebase to answer us, so we just show the empty initializing text. When the initializing is finished, then we show the button to go and sign in with Google, or we will just redirect the user, and I will show you that in a moment. Okay, so the second variable is user, so we want to get the user, and if as long as user is null, then we don't allow screen to go to the chats. Request in progress is just for our protection, to not send the same request twice, and just to wait for the answer. So the first thing that happens here is this use effect, because it has empty dependency array. So we configure Google sign in, and we call the method getCurrentUser. How to configure the Google sign in? You can actually get the whole information from this library. So you can go right here, and I highly recommend to just check how it's working. There are also handlers for social providers, and in our case we are interested in Google sign in. So we have to create an app in Firebase, get the API key, the secret key, put them in our React Native and in our iOS app, and then just call those methods to verify if the user is authenticated or allow user to authenticate. Okay, so we call the getCurrentUser, and our getCurrentUser function calls Google sign in to getCurrentUser. We log the data to be sure what's coming back from the Google, and we set the user. So there are two cases. If the user is signed in, then the user object will exist, and otherwise it will be still null. And then we set initializing to false, because we are after the initial phase of checking if the user is signed in or not, and if the user already exists. So when we call the setUser, the user variable changes, and that causes that another use effect is being fired, this one. So this one checks if the user exists, and if the user exists, we fetch the user data. Otherwise, we just don't do anything, and let's get through the process in which we are not signed in. So we are not signed in, nothing happens. Initializing is set to false, so we show the button and allow user to sign in. So maybe let's run the app, and then I will explain you what's happening there. But in general, there is a button in the center of the screen, and we provide the login handler function to the pressable object. Okay, we are here. The app is called Chat House. Yeah, we are after initializing, and that's what exactly you see. So there's a pressable. It's not a button, because right now you should use pressable, and it's called sign in with Google, and we have login handler. So login handler, okay, 1 second, because it disappeared. So login handler just uses the method copied from the React Native Firebase documentation. So we are trying to sign in with Google, and then we are trying to set the user with the user info grabbed from the Google sign in. And hopefully, if no error will happen, then the user won't be null any longer, and because of that we will be redirected to the chats. So maybe let's try to go through this process. Okay, Chat House wants to use Google. Okay, choose the account. I will sign in with my email. Okay, I should be able to access the Google data. 1 second. Okay, we are here, and as you see, we get the data and we redirect it to the chats. But how exactly it's working in the Firebase? Okay, so maybe let's switch for a moment, and let's maybe open the directory, and I will show you how exactly it's looking. So as I mentioned, you have to create a new project, and in the Firebase console. And usually when you create this kind of project and you want to add it to, like, for example, iOS project, then you get the Google Service Info plist. And this plist contains all the data like API key, client ID, and so on, the bundle ID, anything you may ever need right here. And you have to add it to your iOS bundle manually. That's the thing that you have to keep in mind. Okay. And we have to close that right now because we don't need that anymore. And the other thing that we might need is actually our Firestore project. And in the Firestore, when we sign in, I added we create an object in the database. So we create a collection of users. And there are actually 2 users that I used for testing. There's an email, and then we have we create an email, token, user ID, and username. So the token is actually a token got from the stream, because we have to authenticate user both in the Firebase and in the stream. So I created a custom Firebase method. So when we sign in, we create a new object in the collection. And because we call fetch user data. So when we signed in, we got the token and all the data from Google, and we called fetch user data. So we are trying to get the data from the Firestore, and initially this data is empty because the object doesn't exist in the Firestore. So we get the data from user, like email, and we are checking if this email already exists in the database, because email is our primary key, so it has to be unique. So if the user doesn't exist, we add a couple more data like username, email, and user ID. And user ID is just a custom ID that we create locally. It is just for a stream use need. So we put that here, and then we try to fetch the user data once again to verify if everything exists there. And if we have token from the stream, then we navigate to chats. Okay, but you probably noticed that we don't have token data right here yet, and because we need that, there is a backend authentication between our Firebase and stream. So I created a custom Firebase function. And we provide here our stream API key and stream secret. Don't be afraid, I will change that. And then we have a function that is listening for changes in Firebase. So it's listening for changes in users collection. And when new object in users is created, then we get the user ID, and we ask server client, so our stream backend, to create a token for this particular user, and this user will use this token to communicate with the stream backend. And then we just set this token, and when we will go back to login, then you will see that if the document exists and if the token is on place, then we navigate to our chats. And navigates to chats is the interesting part right here. So right here we set the request in progress to be false, and we navigate to chats screen. And right here the whole magic of the stream happens, because this one is a pretty simple component thanks to the ready to use components from stream. So there is a like make ID because we need that, and the chats screen actually has some data provided by our user. So we put the user object here, so we are able to get the email, user ID, username, and token because we need them. We don't need email anymore, but I just left that here. There is a channels key. This variable is used by us to force the chats list to refresh because we allow user to create new chats. Okay, so as you see, in a very shortcut, there is an overlay provider right here. There's a modal to create new chats that I will create. I will explain that in a moment. But otherwise, there is a chat client. Its chat is a wrapper for all the actions done by Stream. And then we have channel list, which is component provided by Stream that we can use to just list all the chats. And the good thing is that we can provide filters and options right here. So we can, there are no filters in our app because we want all channels to be visible, but you can filter the chats to be only those in which you are a participant. And the options, we have a limit of 20, so we don't load too many of them, but when we scroll, the list is updating automatically. And there is an onSelect handler. So if we select anything, then we open chat details, but we will go to that in a moment. Okay, so going back to the chats, as you noticed, there is an overlay provider with the modal, and there is a modal in which we can create a new chat. So for example, let's create a chat, video chat. Okay, with description. We sent that. We create a new chat, and it's refreshing. So the modal contains like simple fields. It has the text input for name, text input for description, and 2 pressable buttons, 1 to cancel and 1 to create room. Let's cancel that. If we cancel, nothing actually happens. If we create chat room, then we create a new object called channel. We use chat client because chat client is our Stream client that we need to connect to be able to do anything with our app, within our app, because this is our API key. We create new channel object. We set the name, we set the description. We can add additional data there. There is probably some limit of the size of the data, but except from that, lot of text can be put there. Then we try to create the channel. If anything will happen, then we just cancel that because the app is just an MVP. Otherwise, and actually anyway, we just hide the model and set the text fields to be empty, and then we set channel key to be we increment the value of the channel key, because thanks to that we force the channel list to reload. React knows that key of this object has changed, so it forces that to re-render, and when it's forced to be re-rendered, then it fetches the new data. That's how it's working. And luckily thanks to that, we are able to show all the chats that were actually created. As you see, I've played with this SDK a lot because I were testing different things. Okay, so we are here. I explained to you how we are creating new chat rooms actually. There's something that I forgot to explain. There is a use effect that we have here, which is happening just after we open this component, and we connect Stream user, because to be able to get the data and add anything to Stream, we have to connect to the user database. and we create chat client. We connect user with user ID from Firebase and username and token that was also created by the Firebase function and stored in the user's collection and then fetched by us. And then we call the set channels key to refresh the channels. Okay, that's it. So the next thing that's interesting for us is going to the chat actually, and when we, as I mentioned, there is a handler provided right here, in which we navigate to the channel, to the chat room screen. We provide channel, which one was actually selected, chat client, and the name to be presented on the top. Okay, so let's go to the chat room. This one is really easy and really short. So we provided some data by the route parameters like channel and chat client. And in this screen, we have actually save area view to just prevent problems with the keyboard. We have chat overlay provider, which is needed by stream. Then we have a chat wrapper in which we provide our chat client. And then we have our channel screen. Channel component is also got from the React Native stream chat React Native components. It's ready to use, and this is how it's actually working. And within that, we just have an empty view with messages list and message input. So what you see here on the top is message list, and that's the message input. We use, oh, there is a bug actually. Yep, that has to be fixed. Okay, that's my fault, probably. Let's add something. Test text. Okay. We can send it, and as you see, it's being sent. I was also playing with different users, and the good thing about that is, oh yeah, actually, when you have more than one user, and as you have seen in our collection users, we have two emails, so there are two users, and one is Tom Baranovic, and second one is Tomasz Baranovic. Both emails were mine. When we provide the username, the app is able to create some kind of thumbnail and use the username to make it easier to find out which user we are. And of course, there are some lot of ready to use features like mute user, flag message, or just react. And that's all provided by the channel component. That's ready to use. You can actually customize the messages, but in my case, I just didn't need that. I decided to use that the ready to use view, which is looking great actually, I believe, and I don't see any reason to modify that. Okay. That's it. That's everything what I wanted to present you. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the whole video is sponsored by Stream. So I really want to say thank you for that, for giving me this chance. And after playing the SDK, I really highly encourage you, because there's no ref link, so I don't get any money for convincing you to use that. But I really highly recommend you to just even play with the SDK, because I had implemented chats using Firebase a lot in the past, and using Stream looks really like way easier. Like the like 2 or even 3 levels of higher, more sophisticated usage, and it's just easier because provides a lot of features out of the box. You can feel free to check their Stream React Native, Stream Chat React Native source code. The library, you can start that, or even ask users and creators for help if you need some. I had a couple problems, and they solved that immediately and explained me what's possible and what's not, and how to handle different problems. And yeah, if you want to build a startup, just feel free to ask them for accepting for Maker account, because you can save a lot of money, even comparing with the Firebase, which is basically free at start, but in Stream you get like a lot of features and it's still free. So it's just way better to build, for example, a startup, or just to play with the streams and the feed. And yeah, the documentation is really great, a lot of examples, so we can just copy the code, play with that, and it will allow you to understand if that's something for you or not. Okay, of course, the link to the source code for this project will be in the description of the video. All the links to the stream and so on will be also there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I will be more than happy to answer you and help if I will be able to. And thank you for your time spent with me. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye!